Porkins Policy Radio, offering a unique perspective on everything. Geopolitics, culture creation, the reality of the world we live in. Coming to you live from New York City, your host, Pierce Redmond.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Porkins Policy Radio. As always, I am your host, Pierce Redmond, and you can find this show here at American Freedom Radio, AmericanFreedomRadio.com, as well as on a bunch of other internet radio stations. And of course, you can find everything that I do, the radio show, podcasts, interviews, and articles, everything like that, over at my website, which is PorkinsPolicyReview.com. And before we get into today's episode, again, I want to thank everybody who has been subscribing on Patreon. And we actually we got two new people. So thank you to Tom, and also thank you to Howard for becoming Patreon subscribers, becoming patrons. And I will email you back, Howard. I know you sent me an email. I just haven't gotten around to it. But without further ado, we have one of my favorite guests and somebody that actually helped get me this radio show, and that is, of course, a fellow radio host here on American Freedom Radio, Ed Opperman. And Ed, how are you?
I'm very good, Pierce. How are you?
I'm doing, I'm doing okay.
Let me ask you a question. You say without further ado. What do we want more ado? What do we want more ado?
I guess so. I guess, yeah.
Further ado. No more ado for you.
Yeah. No more doing. Yeah. Well, I'm doing okay. We were, both kind of commiserating before we started recording, but we're here now. I know that I promised on the last episode that I would have on Eva Bartlett, but it was just a scheduling nightmare on both ends. But I will get Eva on the show soon, but she was just, there was like no way we could do it. So Ed has thankfully come on the show. And maybe we could just kind of start with a little, just some current events, because it's just so crazy. But I mean, have you heard about this explosion in Chelsea?
Yes, I have. I caught my attention because, I used to go down to Seaside Heights all the time. And we had a house down in Wildwood Crest in New Jersey. And my whole high school went down to Seaside all the time. So there was a bomb, I guess it was yesterday morning, right? In Seaside Heights, there was some marine race,
Mm-hmm.
And it was 3 pipe bombs. And now they're saying it's the same kind of cell phone as these bombs that they found in Chelsea on 23rd Street and then 27th Street. So,
it's really just sort of, I didn't even really know it. I almost thought it was like a joke when I woke up and saw this. And you know what? And it's got this pressure cooker. So, of course, everyone is, shades of like the Boston bombing. And I guess also, just the marathon and the pipe bomb, again, also the sort of Boston bombing or allusions to it. And there was some, what was it? This was like a while back, I think. But there was another in July. There was an explosion in Central Park that might be somewhat related to that. But
I remember that now. Right, it was right on the 4th of July. I remember.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it's like one of the. You know what? It kind of instantly made me think of was the sort of like the strategy of tension that like Mae Brussell would talk about. Where, there would be, I guess like in her time, it was like all of these sort of controlled groups like the Symbionese Liberation Army and other things. But, she'd talk about or serial killers and things like that. And she would always talk about like kind of chaos, creating chaos with these like little tiny events everywhere. And that's sort of, I'm assuming this is some nut. I don't know. Any insights into that, Ed?
I have no insights, but I tell you something. A little hunch. I got a little hunch here. That's a little funny thing about the story here. Did you see the part where a couple of guys were walking by and they found the duffel bag with the pressure cooker inside a plastic white bag. And so they stole the duffel bag, and then they took the pressure cooker out and left it there and stole the duffel bag and left with the duffel bag.
For the second device, the one on 27th?
I guess it's the second device, yeah.
No, I didn't.
You can't leave any. That's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Even terrorists cannot have nice things.
Yeah.
I'd say real quick, though, kind of a hunch I got here. Just a weird feeling. Because, this happened on the first day of this new police commissioner's day in office.
Yeah. And
it just struck me as odd coincidence. And could it be possible that this was done by cops, as to some kind of a protest or, or to cause trouble for the new guy coming in, I don't know.
Or like a little initiation.
Not initiation, but really to sabotage the guy.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I feel
like I don't know a lot about I think it's O'Neill, right? Is his name? I have sort of not paid attention, but I think he like came. I mean, he was like groomed for many years in the NYPD. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, they all are. You don't make it to the commissioner these days. When I was in high school, my shop teacher was Bartholomew Codd, and he was Ed Codd.
Right.
Yeah, he was the police commissioner. It was his brother, and it was funny because one time one of the kids in the class threatened him. And the cops went to his house that night. They went to his house that night. They put the handcuffs on him, the whole deal.
Really?
Yeah, because his brother was the police commissioner.
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. But that was before, nowadays, forget it. Police commissioner's like being, president of the United States,
Yeah.
It's like,
and it's, and then they go into, the private sector afterwards and these consulting things, or they go back to government. What was it? Bill Bratton was, he was like commissioner of Boston, then New York, and then Boston again, and then did something in Washington, and then he was New York, and it's a very odd job, very powerful job too.
Oh yeah.
And
did you hear the show I did about the SLA with Brad Schreiber?
No, not all of it. I was literally just listening to that a few days ago. Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. And he's saying that he has evidence that Patty Hearst was sleeping with Sin-Q while he was in prison before she was kidnapped.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a lot of the stuff he brings up in that story. His great book he has, it just came out. And there's a lot of stuff in there, and there's definitely a bunch of informants and CIA guys around this Sin-Q character.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
The whole thing seems to be a big setup.
Oh, yeah. And the Donald DeFreeze and the whole, the Mae Brussels stuff on that is fantastic, the old radio shows. Well, I don't know. What else we got going on? I thought we could, I know it's like endless election stuff. I feel like almost every episode I'm mentioning something about the election. I just saw it. I think it's only 51 days until the election, so we're almost out of the woods. But I guess we kind of have to. I guess it's like almost unavoidable at this point with this recent health scare with Hillary Clinton. What's going on, Ed? I mean, it's one of those things where it almost seems like it was sort of like a joke, to kind of talk about it, and then it became sort of a real quote conspiracy theory, but it was only the conservative alternative media was into it, and now it's like it's a real thing suddenly, but it's sort of not getting the play that you'd think it would. There's a lot of conflicting stories out there, and I've seen like everything on that. But what do you think is going on?
Well, just imagine, any other presidential candidate in the past in our adult life that we've been following politics, if the presidential candidate spazzed out like that and had to be carried into a van, lost their shoe. If they just lost their shoe alone, that would be a major story. Would be going on for who's that guy? Howard Dean. Imagine if Howard Dean lost his shoe. The guy had to drop out because he went woo.
Yeah. No, I know. It's but remember Romney putting the dog on the roof? That was a story for like months.
Yeah.
But I know. Yeah, Hillary Clinton passing out and then not going to the hospital is like, whatever.
Yeah, and losing her shoe and like nothing happened. So, yeah, I did a couple of interviews, and I packed them into one show that aired yesterday on American Freedom Radio. Yesterday? Yeah, today's Sunday. Yeah, it was yesterday. And I got this doctor, Dr. Noel, and he's the doctor who's been out there quite a bit talking about this issue. And I had him on for an hour, the longest interview he's done so far. And I got to tell you, I'm really proud of it. A lot of people really like it, and I'm really proud of this interview. I'm going to be doing a press release birth on his version. And then I also had the Secret Service agent, Gary Byrne, on for the first segment, and I'm going to be doing a second press release on what he said, because I think I got news out of both of these. One thing Dr. Noel talks about, and he's really neck deep in this because he had a couple of opinions about it. The next thing you know, everybody started trashing his reputation and saying that it's unethical for him to be diagnosing people. But he's just going by his observation, you know? And he's saying he's getting hundreds of emails every day from people saying, and by the way, he got like 1 million hits on one of his YouTube videos. And he says, listen, I'm getting people who live with people with Parkinson's are recognizing the symptoms when they see her doing these things. One of the things he said was these blue sunglasses she was wearing are a special kind, and he knew the name of them and where to order them. These are a special kind of sunglasses that help prevent seizures. Okay. And also, too, he had a video. There used to be a video on YouTube of a person having a seizure, putting these sunglasses on and being, the seizure going away. After he started talking about that, they took that YouTube video down off of YouTube. So, now, when I first saw her, because, she's wearing these sunglasses, her hair's not done. Her hair's like all greasy and hasn't been done. I thought it was a hangover, and she just had a hangover, and she got dehydrated, started stumbling around. They threw her in a van. But as they're describing it to me, it wasn't, man, because she wasn't flopped over. She wasn't passed out. She was rigid in that whole thing. And so they throw her in the van, and then they don't take her to a hospital, which should be procedure. I talked to Gary Byrne, a Secret Service agent. He said it should have been procedure. Instead, they take her to the daughter's house, right? They take her up there. She comes back down, and she's hugging a little kid. Now, I said right away, hey, if supposedly she's diagnosed with pneumonia the day before, okay? Now, if I get diagnosed with pneumonia, the last place I'm going to go is to where my little 3-month-old infant grandchild is and my 14-month-old grandchild. No one does that.
Yeah.
Now, even if, right, Pierce, the doctor tells you, Pierce, don't worry, you're not contagious. The doctor could make a mistake.
I know, yeah. It's just like, well, you would take the precaution.
Right. Who's going to do that?
No, I know. But she's like, when she leaves Chelsea Clinton's apartment, she's like, hugging some little girl on the street.
Right.
Like nobody's calling her out on even if it is like, oh, it's just pneumonia, it's like, it's pneumonia. It's like, is that okay? It's like if Donald Trump had, coughed in his hand and touched somebody, it would be a story.
Well, they were also saying that, complaining about Trump saying, oh, his weight is 260. Oh, my goodness, that's not very healthy. You think the woman just passed out the day before and they're complaining about his health. Now, not that I'm a Trump supporter. I think everyone realizes that.
No, yeah, ditto for me.
But the thing is, Robbie Mook comes on TV and says, oh, yeah, I caught that pneumonia, too. It's going around the office. Okay, well, then which story is true? It's either non-contagious pneumonia, which makes an excuse why she'd be hugging little strange kids and why she'd be chasing around her little grandchildren, or it's contagious pneumonia, like Robbie Mook says, and he had it and other people in the office had it too. Both stories can't be right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, right. So the pneumonia, the whole photo ops here going on. I talked to Gary Byrne. He says that scene down there was a totally staged photo op with her hugging this kid. There's no way this kid could just run through the crowd.
Oh, hell no. Yeah.
Right.
Right, exactly. It's just still Secret Service everywhere.
Right. And he has a lot of interesting things to say, too. Okay. Now, he says when she started spazzing out like that, no one in the Secret Service is panicking. How did they know she wasn't shot with a dart? Everyone's talking about the Russians doing this. They're hacking here. They're hacking there. How do Al-Qaeda gets a blowgun and shoots it with a blowgun? How do we know? We don't know. You know what I mean? Well, nobody knows. So, but nobody jumps. The presidential candidate starts passing out, spazzing out right in front of you, loses her shoe, and you don't throw her in there and get her out of safety. None of that. They left that. By the way, too, another thing too is they left that 9/11 memorial appearance there. They left early okay, earlier than they were supposed to, and they ditched the news media behind. They actually sent the media to another spot and ditched the whole traveling media, plus that special group that follows them around just in case they die, which is what she was about to do. You know what I mean? So they ditched them. And so the thing is, though, is when you look at that video, those Secret Service agents, according to Gary Byrne, who's a retired Secret Service agent who testified at Whitewater, this is not some slouch. This guy was right there in the White House doing all that stuff with Vince Foster and Linda Tripp, and he knows Monica Lewinsky. He knows all these people. Now, he says the way they reacted is they reacted in a way that they see this happen all the time. No one was freaked out about it. So she's having these spasm attacks, these freezes, these Parkinson freezes. And she's having them all the time. And everyone around her is aware of her. And I talked to him about it. I says, don't they have an What the hell happened here? The recording stopped. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Ed.
Okay. Well, my recording stopped.
That's okay. I think we should be good on my end.
Okay. Yes. Anyway, so he said that they had to be aware of this stuff going on all the time with her because no one was shocked about it. So this is something, and they're under no obligation to tell us either. You know. And we also got into the business about a body double. You know.
And what is that? I know I was like seeing that kind of popping up on Twitter and other places. I mean, I'm sure they have them. I mean, you know, we always hear about like Saddam's body doubles and things, but what is that exactly?
Okay, you're right. Saddam, I think, had plenty of body doubles. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the one that went on trial looks like he's younger than the
right. Yeah. Well, have you ever seen the Arrested Development? It's like a whole scenario in that.
He's like the youngest one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you look at because when you look at her come back out of that apartment, it looks like a totally different different Hillary character, you know. And one of her doubles or impersonators was in that neighborhood that day. But now Gary Byrne says, he says, well, no, we can never use body doubles, and the Secret Service does not use body doubles because legally and constitutionally, they're not allowed to protect someone else as if they're the president. It's too much. You're not allowed to do that. But then it kind of I sat with me for a second. I said, well, I'm not sure if I believe that. So I said to him, I says, listen, is there anything you're sworn? Are you privy to any kind of national secrets that you're not allowed to talk about that you're still sworn to that you're not allowed to say? And he goes, yeah, there's things I won't say because it would jeopardize agents' lives and it would jeopardize protectees' lives. And I said, well, then how do I know this isn't one of those things? And he says, well, it's not. So I don't know, man. Yeah. You got to listen to the interview. Gary Byrne and Dr. Noel on the Opperman Report. And judge for yourself. I found Dr. Noel to be very, very credible. Yeah, I did, man. Because I thought it was a hangover until I talked to this. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, what's bizarre to me is that they're using pneumonia. And I wonder if that was just like a sort of spur of the moment. They said it without thinking, and now they've got to run with it. Because I mean, I don't understand why they would use something like and then to be like, well, it's not contagious, but a bunch of people on the campaign got it. Oh, don't worry. I thought they would have just kind of maybe kept running with the heat exhaustion or come up with something better. Pneumonia just sounds so extreme. It's also, I mean, how did she get it? I don't know. It just seems, the whole thing seems, obviously they're not telling us the whole truth. And again, it makes no sense. If any president or presidential candidate or senator or whatever, if they have a Secret Service detail and they pass out or they're, kind of losing it, they would immediately go to a hospital. And all the agents would know, like, what the fastest route, how to get there. They would have a police escort. So it makes no sense that they're just bringing her to Chelsea's house, and presumably that physician that is everywhere with her, I guess, gave her something, stayed with her until she was with it enough to, I guess, go out and then, have this staged meeting with this little girl. But
it looks like they gave her IVs too, because when her face was, did look dehydrated, and she looked hungover in the morning, you know, and dehydrated, and then her face was all nice and full, like you get a bunch of fluids inside you.
Yeah, or like a B12 shot or something,
or a couple of beers too, you know, because you know, and listen, a lot of people say that she's, you know, even her own friends, Carvel and Leon Panetta, those characters, they all say that, oh, you hang out with her, oh, she'll drink you under the table, you know, and they're saying it because she's such a personable, fun person to be around, which I find hard to believe.
Oh, yeah, right.
Can you imagine?
I bet she's, yeah. Well, there were those pictures of her when she was in Colombia, right, with her AIDS or something, and she was, you know, it was like implied, yeah, she was drinking and partying, you know, with the best of us. I mean, I guess if you're married to Bill, you probably would have to drink. You know, just to get through the day. And I mean, he's looking worse and worse. He really looks like a ghost.
Yeah, I saw him here. I guess it was in Vegas about 9 months. By the way, too, when we saw Hillary here at that time, I told you they filled up the whole room with like union workers that they busted them in from out of town. And I left early, and I was walking past the Secret Service, and they says, you know, listen, you leave, you can't come back in. And I said, what? I said, no way I'll come back in. I can't take that voice, that screeching. And they all laughed. So I guess they used to deal with it too. And Bill, I saw Bill. That is interesting too. He was at a high school here where my daughter does the debates. And the paper said, I was down there. There wasn't more than 250, 300 people there. And most of them were kids from the high school who stayed late to see the president. And the paper said there was like 800 people. There was no way there was 800 people. And he looked old. He looks old.
Oh, yeah.
And he looks like old, like with makeup on to make his cheeks look rosy and stuff like that. And his hair looks thin. He looks much better on TV than he looks in person.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny, too, to sort of thinking about the Secret Service. And, you know, obviously that's a really powerful organization. And you know, anyone that looks into like JFK knows that there were at least some Secret Service agents involved. I mean, they would have had to have been, you know, the level of that. And then you look at like the Reagan, the attempted assassination on Reagan. And there's, you know, all sorts of weird evidence that when Reagan was thrown into the car, that's when he might have actually gotten shot. Probably by, I mean, it would have had to have been by a Secret Service agent, that they crushed his ribs when they did it, and they injured him a lot more. So these guys have like an incredible amount of power, and they're guarding these people, and they do, you know, they see the, like, it always made me like wonder, this is, you know, I guess going to get kind of graphic, but, you know, Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, you know, and all of the, you know, the stuff with the cigar and whatever, that was in the Oval Office. You've got Secret Service details, like, outside. Yeah,
that was Gary. Gary was right outside the door.
Yeah, I mean, so right, exactly. I mean, they're seeing this stuff. I mean, they know it firsthand. I mean, we've got at least some of the time, Bill Clinton's Secret Service detail is on Jeffrey Epstein's plane with him. Sometimes he's ditching them, but I guess that you know it makes you wonder too. I mean, like, you know, who's really like. Are they being guarded, or are they kind of being kept that way? You know, like I remember you talking about I forget what it was. Something like I want to say it was like Michael Moore had like Blackwater security guards or something. And this is like a long time ago, an episode you were talking, and you were saying, you know, it's a fine line between you know, protecting someone and kind of keeping, you know, who's really protecting who in that situation, or you know, when you get these kind of guys around you. And they could kind of be, I don't know, like, you know, almost like keeping you hostage. What do you make of that sort of I mean, like, with the Secret Service and say, like, with the Clintons and stuff? I mean, like, I know a lot of people are sort of criticizing Gary Byrne for coming out. But, you know, if even half of what he says is true, even if, you know, a quarter of it is true, it's pretty wild stuff. And, it, you know, it does kind of make you think, I mean, what is the Secret Service really doing?
A couple of things. One is with Michael Moore, the actual guys that were guarding him were the same exact guys that were guarding that ambassador in Iraq, who were running the embassy over there. The same particular men when they left Iraq and went to guard Michael Moore. You know, which is, to me, is extremely odd. And I forget the name of that ambassador too, but he also, he was the head of, I think it was ING, this insurance company, which was when the first plane went into
Paul Bremer.
Paul Bremer, Ambassador Bremer, that's what I'm thinking of. He was a part of that insurance company. He worked in the plane went through his office.
Yeah. And he decided to skip the meeting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's some remarkable set of coincidences there.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I know what you're saying about Gary Moore talks about too how he stumbled upon, it was Christmas time and he opened up a door and Clinton was in there making out with Eleanor Mondale.
Really?
Yeah, and I heard the rumors about Eleanor Mondale years ago that because she was also dating Schwarzenegger. And she went with Schwarzenegger. And she was kind of a party girl at the time, and she was considered. And he knew about Lewinsky too, so he knew about all this stuff when it was going on. In fact, he used to tell Monica, "No, you're not allowed to go in there. You're not. Come on, Monica." She was making excuses all the time to get in there. And then one time when he wouldn't let her in, she had a special phone number for Bill inside the Oval Office because there was a special number to call with an extension, and she had it. And she called Bill on that number, and he came out going, "Hey, did anybody see us? An aide going to come in here with some paperwork for me?" And he let her in. He finally had to let her in. And by that point, everybody knew. Now, Secret Service. As you might recall, I've had a couple of cases involving the Secret Service. The first one was my clients were the White House party crashers. And
right.
Yeah, the Zalahis. Mikhail and Tariq Zaha, what a great, I tell you, what a bunch of nuts they were, but so, and they, and they took the fifth on that case, and, but let me tell you, man, you hear a lot of stories about the Secret Service and they're not this crack bunch of guys you think they are, And then the second time I was involved with the Secret Service at another congressional hearing was the whole misbehavior down there in Colombia.
Sure.
Because the agent was the same agent that was ripped off. He went down to Colombia. He didn't pay one of the girls at the brothel. And then and by the way, these were senior agents that did that. These weren't like young kids. These were the guys in charge who were guilty of that. And the same agent, according to my client, Shelley Tripp, did the same thing to her in Alaska when he was guarding Sarah Palin in Alaska. So when I was part of all this stuff, and by the way, a whole new slew. The lawyer for Shelley Tripp just came out with a whole bunch of Freedom of Information Act information about these Secret Service agents. And the stories you hear about these guys, when they were at the Olympics, when the Olympics were in Utah, they were having parties up in their hotel room with high school girls up there, giving high school girls alcohol. And there's one story like this after another. Passed out drunk, they get their guns stolen, they get their badge stolen. A lot of drinking, it seems. A lot of partying, heavy partying, and heavy drinking.
Yeah, no, that seems to be a theme amongst them. And I think that's something that even goes back to, again, JFK. There were a bunch of, there were reports of a bunch of the Secret Service guys, partying it up in a bar like the night before. And
Jack Ruby's nightclub.
Yeah, right, exactly. Of course. Yeah, where else?
Yeah. And they said in the Warren report, well, yeah, they had been drinking, but we want to take it easy on them because they've been through so much. Listen, who knows, man? It's just such a bizarre. The whole thing is just so bizarre. But it's really interesting how the press just gives Hillary a pass on this, like nothing happened, and making excuses for it, and calling it like but she almost passed out and she had a medical, because then they just accept this pneumonia like on a whole cloth, Very bizarre.
Yeah, I know. It's. I mean, I don't even really know exactly what to make of any of that. I mean, obviously they're just sort of any excuse or any reason. It's so funny too. It's like I got into an argument with my boss the other day. Or not argument, but she very much wanted me to vote for Hillary. Very very concerned that I don't know, somehow she thought Trump would win or something in New York. But it's like, vote for what? What if she dies in office? I mean, it's like at this point now, especially, it really is like these aren't just the rumor mill and the this isn't all a right wing conspiracy. to bring her down. It's like, these are really, I mean, she really, look at the video. And she's never, I mean, has she even really addressed it at all? It's just sort of like, we're not going to talk about it. Almost, like that incident didn't happen. And let's just continue on, Yeah,
I feel it's a beautiful day, and that was it. And then Bill comes out, and he goes, "Oh yeah, she faints all the time."
Yeah, no, it's like, I know someone's got to get him away from a camera, because he's just, nothing good comes out of his mouth.
It's crazy. And they're saying too, I haven't confirmed this independently, but both Gary Byrne and Dr. Noel say that there's a rule at her press conferences, at her rallies, that no one's allowed to take flash photography, which would trigger a Parkinson's event. Just like those balloons coming down will trigger a Parkinson's event, which is to have one there. So the thing is, even if she's not going to die in office, okay, because Muhammad Ali lived for a long time.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox, he lived for a long time. But she could freeze up when it comes time to make a decision. She could, or the Soviets or whatever. So if they're hacking all our stuff, right? They could put a flashlight on her, right? A flashlight in her face and incapacitate her. Who the hell knows? So yeah.
No. I mean, it's just sort of like what happens. I was talking about this with a friend the other day, but one concern is sort of like, well, what happens? She's in the Situation Room and something happens. Like, first off, it's like, what the hell? Tim Kaine is on, he almost doesn't exist. Like, they're just, he's just sort of like there, it's like a wallflower in the background. But it's like, if something like that happens, Bill would be in control. Bill would come back down. And it's sort of like, what are they going to tell the, former president no? And it seems like that's, or at least that's, I don't know, that maybe that's, just my opinion on that. But it seems like that's the kind of that sort of scenario that would exist. And it's just like, he's unelected. Would that happen? I don't know, but it seems fairly likely. It seems like they have that kind of a relationship. But yeah, no, I mean, it's totally nuts. And of course, this is just like, I almost like hate bringing it up because it's just like fuel for the Donald. And his whole, whatever his campaign is becoming, every day it's like worse and worse. But yeah, no, it's a pretty kind of like scary thought. It's like, you've got, Donald on one hand, the like, serial, pedophile, most likely. And then you've got, Hillary, who's just a complete actual lunatic, war criminal. And maybe with a debilitating illness, I can't believe this is really like what it's come down to.
I never considered that idea that you're right. The Bill would come down and say, "Okay, she's taking a nap. I'm in charge."
Right? No,
yeah.
I don't know, but that it seems like that would be the kind of thing, because it's like Tim Kaine is. Have you ever even heard him like say anything?
Okay, a couple about Tim Kaine. First of all, Daniel Hopsick has done some great work on Tim Kaine. You're familiar with Daniel Hopsick?
Oh, yeah, for
right?
sure.
Yeah, great guy. And he says that Tim Kaine was CIA out of college because he went down to Honduras as a Jesuit missionary, and that was a whole front, and it makes total sense. But Tim Kaine, too, he was the head of the Democratic Party, the DNC. And he did this interim thing, just like Debbie.
Sure.
You familiar with that? Yeah. So it's a payoff. It's a political payoff with Tim Kaine. So yeah, he's totally in their pocket.
Oh yeah.
And CIA background again, like all of them. By the way, one of these things too, I have a little theory too about Donald Trump with this whole business about the birther stuff. You know what? Before we get to that, I want to touch on one more thing with Hillary and the health. Is Dr. Drew.
Because Dr. Drew.
Yeah, I know Dr. Drew. I'm not friends with Dr. Drew, and I haven't talked to Dr. Drew since I met him that day. But I did produce a couple episodes of Dr. Drew. But my agent booked everybody on Dr. Drew. Everybody you ever saw on Dr. Drew came through my agent at the time. And she also booked all those people on the rehab show and all that stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I know a lot of people around Dr. Drew and producers over and stuff I still talk to and things. And they all knew that that the show was over. Dr. Drew's star has been
fading,
and the perfect word here. He's been a fading star for quite some time. Now, I have a little theory, though, with all my theories, right? My theories are worthless, let's face it. But I got a little theory about Trump with this business, how he comes out now and says that he endorses Obama's birth certificate. And I come up with that because we had mentioned how Tim Kaine was CIA. So I've always believed that Trump, what's his name?
Obama.
Yeah, Obama's CIA, the CIA creation, yeah. And I believe that Trump, one of the first things he asked them at his intelligence briefing was, okay, what about this Obama? Come on, because it would have been one of the first things he would ask. He's such a weirdo, that guy. That's one of the, you know what I mean? Okay, tell me about Area 51. How many U.S. aliens are there? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's the first thing, like a little kid meeting Santa Claus. He's going to give him his list,
Right.
It's just so true. And I think they told him, no, President Obama is a CIA agent. He's been a lifelong CIA agent, and you have to stop saying that, Mr. Trump. They probably call him Mr. Trump too, right? Mm-hmm. Like Mr. Howell,
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of my little theories that just came out. But that's why Trump has made this 360 degree right after his briefing, if you notice.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. I almost thought it was just like, I interpreted it as the kind of like, just sort of classic Trump, like he's just sort of bringing it up to, just to jog people's memories again, just to kind of get everybody, oh yeah, remember, right, yeah, maybe he wasn't born here, and almost as like a dog whistle to the more kind of extreme people that have decided to sort of jump on the Trump bandwagon. I feel like he does that every once in a while, for all of this, like he's winning, all of the polls are skewed. And, it's like, if I have to hear like Alex Jones or, any of the InfoWars people or any of these other, people supposedly in the alternative media talking about how it's all this, Trump is really, his percent, his approval rating is super high, but the liberal media is it's like, no, they're both equally low. Like, most people could care less about these two idiots. But, and Trump is always the one to kind of like even when he's up, quote, he's like on the defensive. But I feel like every once in a while when he's sort of like fading, so at least like right now, it's like, even though it's negative, all everybody wants to talk about is Hillary's health. And he's not in the spotlight. So then he throws a bone to the sort of like racists. Amongst him, because he'll like come, and then, tomorrow he's going to be, Mr. Civil Rights all of a sudden. And then, he says some ludicrous thing or backtracks, but I feel like he always kind of does it. He always sort of throws a bone to the racists, which he, claims to have no contact with or know anything about. Duke and all those other nut jobs. So yeah, I don't know, but it is interesting to think that it happens just after a CIA briefing.
And all his racist stuff seems to be working for him. He does seem to be reaching out to those people effectively, because he has no ground team, he has nothing, and he's ahead in the polls here in Nevada right now.
Yeah. I know.
But that's totally Hillary. She threw away Nevada, man. She had to steal. She had to steal this caucus, man. She had to steal a couple of delegates, and now none of these Bernie supporters are going to go. We hate her so bad here. You have no idea. We just had a guy here who was a Bernie delegate. His name was Dan. No. David, I think is. Yeah, David. He was out at all the marches with us and stuff like that. And the guy just died. And we think it was related to depression, and post-traumatic stress from what he saw happen here at this caucus and these conventions here in Nevada. And not just him, we just had another candidate here for Congress, Dan Roll, who is in the Observer, just came out a big article, just hit the press just a couple of days ago. Mm. And he's talking about inside information about how, because he had access to these databases and stuff, about how the databases were rigged for Hillary. He would go and look up someone and it wouldn't come up. And one of the Hillary supporters would look up the same person and get all the correct information. I was, yeah, man, like this was, and they had been planning this rigging here for Nevada for years. And they were too heavy-handed with it, but they had to win Nevada because Bernie was winning. Bernie was on a roll. If he would have won Nevada, it would have changed everything. So they had to pull out all the guns to steal Nevada, and it'll go down in history. Too many people saw it. Too many people experienced it. Another thing they were saying too, get this, is that at the state convention here, that they had rows of seats, and there was equal number of seats for Bernie people and equal number of seats for Hillary people, and all the Bernie seats were filled, and people were standing up and sitting on the floor, and the Hillary seats were barely filled, but they were winning all the votes.
Yeah.
It was like so obvious we had more people.
No, what's funny too is it's like the level to which I was talking about this. I think like 2 episodes ago, but it's like so in your face.
Yeah.
And yet it's like still doesn't faze anybody. It's like the people that are apathetic they're still apathetic, and it's like the supporters on either side, Trump or Hillary or whatever. It's like they don't even care. It's like they know it's all a joke.
Yeah.
And it just sort of like I don't know. I mean, it just kind of scares me. It's like what's going to happen, 8 years down the line or 10 years, whatever. Like next couple of presidents. I mean, it's like the bar has been lowered so low at this point. It's like we're gonna have like Jesse Ventura or something.
It's worse than that. But Hulk Hogan.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever really seen a Hillary supporter? I've seen more Bigfoots than I've seen Hillary supporters, and I've been to these rallies. It's just they're not. It's all rigged, man. And she got this press in her pocket, 100%. Every single channel, even Fox News doesn't talk about the stuff that went on at the in Philadelphia down at the national convention.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing. Goes for this stuff about the foundation, money going in and out. It's like one little blip of a story, and then nobody wants to talk. I mean, we've talked about this before, but the whole Clinton Foundation and Jeffrey Epstein possibly being a founding member, giving money afterwards. There's a lot of like shady stuff. What do you make of like Julian Assange? I'll be honest. You sound. More and more just like some Russian stooge at this point. He only goes on RT. It's like whatever. I guess if I was like under basically house arrest, I've been living in the Ecuadorian embassy, I'd probably take anybody that's sort of gonna give me money or attention. But I like I see with him, it's just like every 5 minutes he's talking about it's gonna be the biggest story ever. We're gonna release the email of all emails, and then it's like he either doesn't release anything, or he releases something and it's like, well, that's not really that big a deal. What do you make of him?
Well, he's a mystery because look at this guy. He came out of the Children of God.
Did he?
Yeah, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy. No.
Yeah, and he's been dyeing his hair since he was like 6 years old. He's been dyeing that hair blonde. He came out of that David Berg cult, the sex cult, where they were molesting all the kids. Or the River Phoenix came out of there.
Sure. Rose McGowan.
Yeah, man. What's up? So you gotta digest that first.
I did not know that. That is pretty shocking.
So then, one thing I noticed too. Now, listen, these emails are real. We know that because my friend Erin Bilbray, who was a Nevada superdelegate for Bernie, she's in those emails. And also too, my other friend Christine Kramer, she's in WikiLeaks too. So, and these are people I know. I can touch them. I know them. I've been to their homes, so I know. So now, one thing I notice is all these hoax news sites, these fake ones, Your Newswire, and all these bullcrap sites that are just so proliferate right now. They keep coming up with all these new leaks and these leaks here, and coming up with these bizarre fake stories. And I think that's part to desensitize us to what Julian Assange is releasing. Now, Listen, can he be doing what he's doing on the level he's doing without state-sponsored? I don't think so. I think he's probably getting this stuff fed to him by the Russians, probably. And can we trust it 100%? We can't trust anything 100%.
Yeah.
But there's some good stuff in there. And he says he has something. But then again, what's he waiting for?
Yeah, I know.
The woman's being lifted into a van, passed out. Wouldn't that be a good time to take a shot?
I know. Yeah, I know. It's just sort of like, yeah, I know. It's.
What?
I mean, maybe it's just the kind of, I mean, the attention span of the public is so small, but it is like, what's going on? Like anytime now, Julian, we're.
Well, right now we got every news channel is showing the repeats of last night. A bunch of cops with flashing lights. And what does it take to make 3 of those little bombs? You could hire a couple of cops for $10,000. They'll have no chance of getting in trouble, getting caught, and they could pull this off overnight. Just like what happened there in France when Bill Clinton was on the front page all over the place, and Prince Andrew on the Epstein scandal was really heating up. What happens? We have the true Et Tu Charlie thing with the cartoonist there in France. With these guys, a couple of guys, right? Go in there and shoot up the place, right? And they take off. They're holed up in some warehouse, and a magazine calls up the warehouse and gets them on the phone. And the gunmen say, "Yeah, we were hired for $20,000 to do this." Okay. What's it take to hire those guys? It could have been Bill Clinton himself that mailed him a check, from the Clinton Foundation. He wouldn't pay for it himself. They don't pay for a damn thing themselves, Who knows, man? It's all too easy for them. Yeah. Get away with everything. They have no fear of getting caught,
Yeah. No, right. No. What? Just sort of back to Assange and the whatever. It does kind of make me wonder. Like I always thought that a lot of the sort of allegations against, the rape allegations against him were probably true-ish. Like I believe it really probably something happened, but it does sort of have the sort of air of that he might have been set up. Just to simply to get. I mean, obviously they're still going after him. He can't leave Ecuador, the Ecuadorian embassy. But it does kind of make you wonder when you're growing up in some psychotic cult where children were just basically the cult existed so that they could be abused. It does kind of make you wonder, the guy he's sort of turned into. And if, maybe it wasn't all kind of a setup or obviously he's the type of person that would happen to, or that they could get in a situation like that.
Right. Yeah. They look for your weaknesses and they use that. Yeah.
No, that's bizarre. I had no idea he was in. Are you sure it's Children of God?
It's that bird cult. Yeah.
Okay.
It's out there. If you Google it, you'll find it.
That is really kind of out there. No idea. I mean, it makes sense. He's a complete nut.
And also, if you saw the pictures of him as a teenager too, when he was a hacker, hacker stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Listen. I don't know.
No, I know he's a weird. And then you get this like, what is it? Jill Stein wants to free him and bring him here or something like that, along with Snowden. It's like, come on, like who are you trying to fool?
That's another thing too. Listen, this whole Bernie movement was a popular movement, and the future, the kids love it. They're not afraid of socialism. They're not afraid. They know what the 1% is. That these kids are tuned in. They're sharp. I've met these kids on the street. But the best we can come up with is Jill Stein and this guy, Ajumba, whatever he is. I don't even know who this guy is.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're wonderful people, but this is the best, the quality that we can come up with of leadership. Like, why can't we come up with real leaders who are inspiring and motivating? Bernie was. I got a tape when Bernie's talking about injustice. And we have to stand up to injustice. And when 1 million of us get together to fight injustice, to stand up to injustice, we win. And it's the truth. It's the damn truth. How come no one can say these words? How come no one's organizing and getting this stuff going? This is a demographic now, people that want revolution, that people want drastic change. They're out there to be picked up and directed. We have no one with any kind of charisma that can do this. It's outrageous.
I know, and then it's like Gary Johnson is the best that the right can offer up. I mean, and as I've unfortunately, have to mention that I voted for. But it's funny too with that, with like Gary Johnson and Jill Stein. They're all about we can't have this sort of dynasties in politics, and it's like you're always the candidate,
right?
It's like you and at this point, it's like I think like especially with the LP. I mean, Gary Johnson is kind of solidified. He at this point, I think he's finally been able to kind of appeal enough to just regular Republicans. Now he's basically just a Republican that smokes weed. And he's gotten his face out there enough, but he will now be always associated. If you bring up someone's a libertarian, oh yeah, what do you like Gary Johnson, right? You're into all of his stuff. So I mean, he's a completely kind of co-opted and taken over that entire movement. And again, with Roger Stone in the background of a lot of that when he got involved the last election.
Hey, you know the story about Bill Weld, right? The new document that came out?
No.
Oh, you're going to love this, man. I got it from Ted Rubenstein. Ted Rubenstein sends me this. Now, what do you ask me? It's Rubenstein, too, right? In New York, you can call him Rubenstein, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What, does he not preference?
It's Rubenstein. If I say it the wrong way, he's mad.
Oh, I would have said Rubenstein.
Right?
Probably. Yeah.
Rubenstein, anyway.
Yeah.
So he sends me this document on Bill Weld. When Bill Weld was working for the Justice Department, he sends a letter to some guy saying, okay, you're in charge of selling his promised software to these Arabians, to Muhammad this guy, Muhammad that guy. As usual, as we did last time, use Adnan Khashoggi as the intermediary and use these BCCI banks to launder the money.
No, I know you can't. Well, that's what's so funny, too, is Weld was he's best friends with the Clintons. Like, I mean, he still speaks highly of them. And he was just deep into all of that kind of stuff. That's what I don't understand how, again, like that's the alternative, that's the hardcore, crazy, we're the libertarians, we're, really radical or whatever. And it's like, no, you've got, Gary Johnson, who goes on and, I mean, he, his own dick measuring contest with Trump. And he's calling him a pussy and stuff like that. I mean, it's like that. This is the level of discourse. Again, from the libertarian, supposed to be this conservative and intellectual kind of party. And he's out there basically saying Trump's got a small dick. Really? And then Bill Weld is buddies with the Clintons, worked in there. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. He definitely knows where some of the bodies are buried, or he's in the Justice Department. The
Clintons always seem to know how to set up to control the opposition, and to set up their own, and just like they did with Ken Starr, and even Gary Byrne. Gary Byrne, he kind of was hedging away from that yesterday, but I got him to say it the first time. I have a first interview I did with Gary Byrne that it's in my members section at OppermanReport.com. And that one, there's got to be something volatile in there because it got removed from YouTube. Right. So maybe I missed it or whatever. But he kind of hesitated to saying yesterday that he believed that Ken Starr was running interference for the Clintons. At first he said he wasn't, but then toward the end he said the exact same thing he said in the recorded show. So and you look at Ken Starr now. He's buddies with. He's a lawyer for Epstein. Oh no, yeah. I mean, he's definitely protecting Clinton at this point. Yeah, and a lawyer for Epstein and Epstein's opposition. So the guy does it all the time. Yeah. Oh no, I know. The more I'm sort of looking at Ken Starr, it does seem like and he's obviously a defender of pedophiles too. He was defending some other nut job teacher recently, or he was sort of speaking up for him. But we're coming up towards the commercial break. But we'll continue this conversation. Maybe we'll get a little bit more into Ken Starr and some of that other stuff after the break. So stick with us, and we'll be right back.
to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotic.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
Did you know there are 3 million edible food plants on Earth, and none have the nutritional value of the hemp plant? HempUSA.org offers you hemp protein powder. It does not contain chemicals or THC, is non-GMO, and is 100% gluten-free. Hemp protein powder burns fat, builds muscle, contains 53% protein, and feeds the body the nutrients it needs. Call 888-910-4367 and see what our powder, seeds, and oil can do for you. Only at HempUSA.org. HempUSA.org introduces 3 brand new detox formulations of microplant powder. Brain Fuel for depression, bipolar disorders, and stress. Total Care, anti-cancer agent that cleans the liver and organs and increases memory. Rejuvenate, invigorates and heals the body, mind, and spirit. These products are your alternative to pharmaceuticals. Call 888-910-4367 and like us on Facebook. We ship worldwide. Only at HempUSA.org.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the war in the Persian Gulf. You know my favorite part of that war? It's the first war we ever had that was on every channel plus cable. We like war. We're a warlike people. We like war because we're good at it. And you know why we're good at it? Because we get a lot of practice. This country's only 200 years old, and already we've had 10 major wars. We average a major war every 20 years in this country, so we're good at it. And it's a good thing we are. We're not very good at anything else anymore. Huh? Can't build a decent car. Got no steel industry left. Can't educate our young people. Can't get health care to our old people. Now, you probably noticed I don't feel about that war the way we were told we were supposed to feel about that war, the way we were ordered and instructed by the United States government to feel about that war. You see, I tell you, my mind doesn't work that way. I got this real moron thing I do. It's called thinking. And I'm not a very good American because I like to form my own opinions. I don't just roll over when I'm told to. Sad to say, most Americans just roll over on command. Not me. I have certain rules I live by. My first rule, I don't believe anything the government tells me. Nothing. Zero. Nope. And I don't take very seriously the media or the press in this country, who in the case of the Persian Gulf War were nothing more than unpaid employees of the Department of Defense, and who most of the time function as kind of an unofficial public relations agency for the United States government. So I don't listen to them. I don't get all choked up about yellow ribbons and American flags. I consider them to be symbols, and I leave symbols to the symbol-minded.
You're listening to AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the network who perseveres in delivering intelligent debate, constructive dialogue with true independence. The freedom to broadcast the truth is not free at all. So what is American Freedom Radio worth to you? The empowering information with fun, honest and pure integrity behind it provides an example to follow. Friendships to flourish with the moral altruism that pulls no punches. The hosts sacrifice and show remarkable discipline in their duty to deliver quality radio in service to the community with strength, wisdom and loyalty. The founders of AFR wish to thank you personally for sharing your views and insights to make the best radio and alternative media. Now it's time for you to give something back and play a vital role in the future of America. Be as generous with us as we've been with you. Click on the donate banner at AmericanFreedomRadio.com or volunteer by emailing AmericanFreedomRadio@ymail.com. Vaccine, psychotropic drugs and artillery batteries not included.
No rules, no rules, no taboo topics, no taboo topics, no fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio, American Freedom Radio. Porkins Policy Radio, offering a unique perspective on everything. Geopolitics, culture creation, the reality of the world we live in. Coming to you live from New York City, your host, Pierce Redmond.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Porkins Policy Radio. Almost forgot the name of my own show there. I am joined, of course, by Ed Opperman of the Opperman Report, and just a quick little message here. I've been getting a lot of great feedback on the last couple episodes. People are donating to the Patreon or on PayPal, but I hope that people will also help support American Freedom Radio. We definitely need donations as well, and I hope people will support my good friend Ed Opperman, who I know is had a rough week or so, I guess I could say, Ed. And he made some calls for help, and I know people did respond. But Ed does a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes with my show in particular. It wouldn't be on all these other networks without Ed's help. And Ed, I always forget to send Ed the episodes, and he goes and he downloads it himself, and he, rebroadcasts and all that stuff. So I hope people will also help support Ed as well. Anything helps, really. Even $1 is always welcome. And you should get Patreon, Ed. I think you'd find you'd get a lot of people that way.
Yeah, I have a lot of plans in the work. What Pierce is talking about is I had to do a show Monday night, I think around 8:00 at night, basically called Help. And I probably cried. I haven't listened to it myself, but I went on. I thought the show was over. I thought the show was over, and I thought the station was over. And I just went on there and I said, look, guys, we're overdrawn at the bank, and every single charge that comes in from for these little expenses, these stupid little expenses, like even the $3 for Skype, every little one that was coming in was a $35 overdraft.
Yeah.
And so it was just a desperate situation. But thank God people did, turn up and help, And also, too, people can always get my book, too, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get that on Amazon.com, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, too. Even if you're not a PI or you just want to, you're a researcher and stuff like that, it'll help you out, too.
Mm. No, I know. It's like, I don't know, we don't have to get too much into it, but, doing this sort of stuff is really, it is tough.
Yeah.
It takes a lot out of you. And especially, I don't think people really quite understand the live radio aspect to things. We were talking off air before we started recording, but it's you get guests canceling on you, stuff comes up. It's not like a podcast where you can just kind of you do it whenever. This is every week and live too, and sometimes you're not in the best of moods,
right.
And but you got to do it. And everybody, I guess, just sort of wants everything for free, too. It's like nobody is willing to kind of pony up even $1, like I said. And then, of course, they criticize you if you take advertising or you do this or you do, I've struggled with that myself. And it's kind of like, well, if you guys don't want to help out, then yeah, you're going to kind of, you're going to reach out to some other avenues because, you do want to continue this sort of stuff. I love doing the show. It's been tremendous, and just the feedback is great. But, I don't know, there's something with the alt media.
Yeah, I think it's sabotage. I think a lot of that is legitimate, organized sabotage that they're trying to tell us we can't take sponsors, but a phony like Alex Jones or these disinfo people can take it. Give me a break. Listen, and there's a lot of people who are implanted in this business, just out to sabotage what you're doing. Okay, and if you notice too, if you're talking about UFOs and you're talking about ghosts and all these bizarre theories and stuff like that, no one's messing with you. But if you're reporting hard facts and hard news, man, they come at you, dude. And you're just getting started. You're gonna.
No, I know. No, believe me. Yeah, it's already been. Well, I think I mentioned this at least on Twitter, but I'm just not looking at YouTube comments anymore.
Yeah,
because it's like relentless. It's just so much hate. Yeah. And you really just kind of. And all they really want to do is they want to just kind of suck you in. They want you to waste a couple hours. So that you won't be doing research or, uploading something or something constructive.
Right.
They just want to waste your time and have you think about it, for days on end. And it sounds silly, but like, I think we make fun of like celebrities, all the time who get, I'm quitting Twitter, and it's like, who gives, who cares, whatever. No one told you to become a big, Hollywood celebrity, and if you can't take people, like, I think there's too much sort of like bullying and all that sort of, obviously it's real, but I think, like the safe space and all that sort of nonsense has sort of made a lot of people, they won't stand up for themselves anymore. But believe me, it really sucks being on the receiving end of it, especially when it's like you put so much effort into these things. And I don't think people really appreciate like the amount. Like, I mean, both of us have full-time jobs. I mean, you way crazier job than I do, and a daughter. I can't imagine all these things, and it's just like, and then when you put something up and it's just like all negative, and I almost missed when I was just sort of getting called like a CIA shill, but now it's just like, it's just hatred towards me. So I don't know, but I think I've sort of now beginning, especially with the radio show, and you reach like a bigger audience, and there's a lot of that, but there's also there are a lot of good people out there.
It's definitely worth it. It's this is important work. You and I both, we're interviewing people that other people just don't even consider or can't get. But and like you said, it's just so frustrating because you put so much work into this, and you work on something for a long time, and you present your information, and then someone will just glance at it and say, "Oh no. Ed, you're all wrong about that. Look, I'll Google it." They said, "I'm going to spend 2 minutes Googling," and they come up with the first thing they find on Google and said, "Here, Ed, look. Have you looked? Yeah, I've looked at that."
I know.
It's like this YouTube video, smack him in the head.
Yeah,
I'd say it. And you're right though. But listen, I think what we're doing is important, and a guy like you. Who gets it, and takes the responsibility seriously. Because there's a lot of people that do. They just roll out of bed and they just start making stuff up off the top of their heads, and they don't realize the damage they're doing. I'll give you an example. I did a show with it was about the Hammonds up there in Oregon, right? And I had a guest on this is way at the beginning, because I knew about that whole situation before the Bundys ever went up there, because a friend from my church.
Oh yeah.
Right, has a ministry, and the daughter of the Hammonds is part of his ministry, and they wanted me to put him on the air, but they says no, we got a deal with the DA. We're going to get out of this. We don't want to bring any attention to this. Okay, we want to keep this quiet. I said, okay, great. So I did a show with him after the whole standoff started, and these characters over at another station heard my show, and they tried to book my guest, and he says, no, I'm not interested in doing it. They went on the air and just started making stuff up. The guys in there in the standoff at the bird sanctuary listen to the show, and they believed everything they're hearing, that they're going door to door and they're kicking in doors in the town, and the marshal. Yeah. They're believing that stuff.
Yeah.
We got to be responsible. Just because we're working for free and a lot of listeners are crazy. We got to be responsible here. What we're doing.
No, yeah, completely. And it's like, I think there's like a desire sometimes to be, we're not like the mainstream media, Right. But it's like, well, yeah, I guess we're not, and we'll never be, not that they're necessarily like the be all and end all, but it would be good to be taken seriously. It would be good, it's like a shame when, you mention alternative media and people think Alex Jones, because he's been on CNN. He gets talked about on Fox. He's profiled at NPR or something. But yeah, I mean, it's like, right. And that's what they think it is. Whereas, the work that me and you and people we know are doing, it's like real work. It's like really vetted. I mean, like, yeah, I take these things seriously. And this is just like a pet peeve of mine, but just because you don't mention something doesn't mean that you're hiding it. I always get that comment on when I put episodes up and stuff. It's like, oh, well, interesting that you didn't mention this and that. And it's like, well, it was a 2-hour show. I tried to mention everything I could, but you forget things. But Yeah, I think we really need, if we want to be taken seriously, if we actually want to make I think, at least I think I'm speaking for both of us here. I mean, we're doing this because we think it's important,
right?
Because it matters, and because obviously no one else is doing it. But, so you gotta do this for real, and you gotta really work on it, and it's tough. But yeah, I mean, we're not just doing it to. We're not making that much money off of this, right? I mean, it's not about the money. It's not about fame or anything. I'm not getting too famous over this. No one stopped me on the street and, I love your show. But, you do this because you're passionate about it and because you want to put this sort of stuff out there. Unlike the, UFOs and everything is a UN plot to steal all the guns and, any of the sort of overarching conspiracy things out there. It's ridiculous.
I'll tell you this, some of the guys who are sponsored by these big sponsors, they want you to talk about that kind of stuff, the coming collapse, because they're selling those gold coins and crap, and the storable food. And I've talked to those people, and they tell you, "Oh no, you got to talk about the coming collapse and the Second Amendment and the AK-47s in the corner." That you gotta, if you want to go that route and get those kind of sponsors, you got to do that kind of show.
Yeah.
Now I'm hoping, man, because we're coming out of this. I thought I was done. I thought my show was done, and I really did, man. And it was devastating, to think I would lose this, because I really enjoyed doing it. I get to meet the most exciting people in the world, and learn things and expose things. But I'm coming out of this now with strength, because I see the support that I did get. And I believe the next step is I'm going to go and start buying some of these airtimes on some of these AM and FM stations and start expanding the show and working on getting sponsors too, And they don't have to be, General Electric, GE.
Right.
But I mean, you can get decent sponsors. One guy has a rehab, drug rehab business, Another one has organic soap. I just need to put some pressure on him.
I'll say I miss Pacific West Bamboo.
I miss her too. Yeah, I miss her too. Yeah, and the New World Mexican women. And,
yeah.
My character sponsors that I had. We're all cool people, though. My mushroom guy. Michigan.
Oh yeah, Michigan mushrooms, right?
All cool people. You can't say that they're in New World Order. None of those people are corporate sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it. You can do it.
No, I mean it's funny. It's like you mention that, or you think about that, and it's almost like a 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Which is also so funny because especially at least here in the U.S. I mean, so much of the alt media is sort of on the more right or conservative sort of bent, libertarian, and they're all about free enterprise and capitalism and all these things, but God forbid you ever, if you got a sponsor for a podcast or something, somehow you're like submitting to the Rothschilds or something. You're in cahoots with them. And I don't know, that's just like something that I don't think people realize it, but it really does. It compartmentalizes it, it puts you in this little box that you can't get out of, because you everything is sort of like ideologies, and everyone has to have this sort of strong ideological bend. And it's like, if you have a certain guest on your show and then, you don't call them out, or, you know what I mean? It's like people are so kind of like, everybody wants to kind of pick a fight with one another in the alt media.
Oh yeah.
But and again, it's like, this is why we're viewed as childish. This is why, when, it's like when I tell people I do the show and they're like, "Oh, what is it?" And you're like, alternative media, and you basically have to say it's like conspiracy culture, and they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's great, yeah, I'll give that a listen sometimes." But yeah, I don't know. It just sort of, it's like one of those things. Like the more you kind of get into this sort of stuff, I know I'm just kind of going off on a.
Well, it's worse than that. When you're talking to some little 25-year-old or 23-year-old, and oh boy, you got a radio show. That's so cool. What's your show about? Oh, Patty Hearst. They never heard of Patty Hearst.
Yeah, right.
Okay, they never heard of it. And I'm trying to think of something cool and hip. I said, well, Courtney Love and Kurt.
Right. Yeah.
Man, I'm like really out there. But I think my biggest issue that I've had with other hosts and other stations is the fact that I can get sponsors, and that's the biggest their biggest hatred of me is that I have sponsors. And if you look at me, man, listen, you can see where my money's coming from. Everyone knows what my business is, you know what my book is, and you know who my sponsors are. Who are these characters, man, who live somewhere for free? A lot of these guys live someplace for free. They got some kind of free living arrangement. No visible means of income or support. I think some of them, I think they're selling pot and stuff like that, and maybe a little meth too. But but no visible. You don't hear them talking about their job and they had a rough time with their job today or whatever. I got no job. Where's their money coming from? There's a lot of people in this, man, I think, that are propped up. By something or somebody or whatever. And I think there's whole stations too that are propped up from the top down. But what are you going to do? You can't become that guy who's running around exposing everybody and exposing those. Then you get into a mishmash of accusations back and forth. And but I tip my hat to you, Pierce. I love what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. And you're right there, man. And you're one of the guys I point to when I talk about Tom Secker, Chuck Chelly, the guys that are really, really doing this kind of stuff. William Rams, I think, is doing a great job. So
yeah, no, I thank you. I mean, that's that one. It's always an honor to have you say that or praise my stuff. So and I mean, I'll tell you this. I mean, all my friends think you're super hip because I've turned all of them onto your show. Like for instance, like my sister will never listen to my radio show, but she listens to you all the time.
Really?
I think probably maybe the only time she ever listens to me is if I'm on your show. She just I remember just saying this guy is just New Yorker and crazy stories and stuff, and she was just hooked on. I think she listened to your Tupac show, and then with John Podash. And, and then she, downloaded the whole discography of Tupac and, got really interested in all that sort of stuff. So, no, I'm always, talking you up here in New York. I know you talked about maybe coming here. It'd be great if you, we do a live show or something.
You should tell your sister to invite me over for Thanksgiving and I'll sit in your seat. And we'll put you at the kids' table.
Yeah. But I mean, it's my friends don't even listen to the show. It's they don't want to hear you talk.
You know what? That's kind of better sometimes. I remember too when I first told people at church. It was 7-10 years ago when I first went public. And I would say, "Oh yeah, I'm being interviewed." And they'd say, "Well, who'd want to interview you about what?" I testified for Congress. Tiger Woods was involved in a couple of stuff. And I don't talk about that stuff. But now the other way around. Everybody I know listens to the show now. The girls at the bank, they all listen. My neighbors here listen. I walk out to go from my house to my apartment, in a little ghetto tenement I live in here. I walk from my apartment to my car, and the neighbors stop me and say, "Oh, hey, I heard the show."
Right.
You got to kind of be careful, because sometimes I talk about the neighbors.
Right. Yeah. No. I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, and it's good to have distance too, the whole, especially in the alt media, you get wrapped up, and it can make you paranoid. I mean, I'll tell you, I get paranoid with a lot of the Epstein stuff. Because I mean, I know he knows, or somebody on his staff knows who we are.
Oh no, absolutely.
I mean, we're the only people ever talking about him.
Yeah.
So anytime this stuff comes out, I'm sure we're on his radar.
Well, I told you that I contacted someone someone we both know, and asked for contacts with the women that were raped by Clinton. Captain Willie. I said, this is you're with all those people. Give me put me in touch with them.
Sure.
And 24 hours later, I was banned from all the Trump rallies. So they checked me, they saw my shows, and that's it. I was over. I'm done.
No, I know. It's because again, I mean, it's just nobody ever discusses this sort of stuff,
right?
So anytime it comes, I mean, I'm sure it's one of those things. If you Google it enough, our shows will come up.
Oh no, they said that when you Google Epstein, you one of our shows is the first thing up, on YouTube,
yeah. So no, and that's what I mean. It's that's real stuff. You know, like that's and we're kind of putting our necks out on the line here. You know, I mean, I don't think Epstein is ever going to do something to us. You know, the last thing he wants is more attention to him. But you know, it's something, you know, that we should be aspiring to, as opposed to like, you know, screaming about the New World Order and how we should, you know, vote for Trump to defeat it. You know, him and Putin as his wingman or something. It's just utter nonsense. And that's just all we're seeing, you know, left and right in the alternative media right now. I think particularly because of the election, everybody is just sort of, I mean, really, it just turns everybody into these sort of psycho zombies all of a sudden. You know, and all these people, they're telling you voting didn't matter, but you're damn well better vote for Trump.
Yeah, I don't buy that voting doesn't matter stuff anymore. Not after what I saw went on here in Nevada. It matters to them. Trust me. They
yeah, no, apparently it does.
they worked overtime to steal this, and they had the media. You know, this guy Ralston, who I see him all the time. I talk about him. I see him all the time. You know, what am I gonna do? You know, let's just make enemies everywhere I go. What am I gonna do? I don't know. I seem to be able to get through it. But, you know, he was in the pocket of these characters. As a matter of fact, if you look at the WikiLeaks, they said, what can we say about Bernie? That he's screwed up and he can't get his paperwork done on time and he's just not, and they're disorganized. Though that's word for word what Ralston reported. All he did was report their press releases, man, and their inside notes to him. So, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
We can't give up, though. We can't give up. And there's a lot of good we can do here. I just had on the show on Friday night the son of Leonard Peltier, the American Indian movement from the 70s. The guy's been in prison 40 years plus, you know. He's 71 years old now. He's got diabetes. He just got the crap beat out of him in one of these prisons here that have moved him to another prison. You know, he's too old to be in prison. And we have a chance now, if you go to the website, whoisleonardpeltier.info, you can download a petition. There's online petitions. We're trying to get to Obama because Bill Clinton was supposed to pardon Peltier. And what happened was 500 FBI agents went out in front of the White House and they had a protest. And the word is, it came down, is that they went to Clinton and said, hey, listen, if you let this guy go, the gloves are off. We're going to go after all your crimes. But he didn't. He made a deal with them, and he kept Peltier in prison. Guy's 71 years old. There is no evidence against this guy whatsoever that he ever shot anybody. That there was 30 people in their homes were shooting at these FBI agents. Came out of their homes with guns because these FBI agents were considered to be part of the goons and the thugs that were coming around, kicking in doors, making people sign away their rights. And so, you know, it's an open and shut case with this Leonard Peltier. And so these are the kind of things we can talk about and get people don't even know he's still in prison or he's still alive or he hasn't been pardoned. People just assume these guys have been pardoned. But he's still in there, 71 years old with diabetes. We have a few months while Obama's in office. You go to whoisleonardpeltier.info and you sign a petition and print out a petition. Take it to your friends and circulate it.
Oh, yeah, and because, you know, you know, Trump would never pardon him, and, you know, Clinton's is not going to care.
But Clinton can't because it's part of that deal, like I said.
Right. Yeah. It's yeah, you know, it's funny, too. I get that all the time, too. You know, oh, why don't you, you know, come up with some positive, you know, guests or something? And it's sort of like, well, I don't know. It's like, why don't you come up with something? You know, why don't like, that's what's so funny. It's also, everybody wants us to answer the questions or solve the problems. You know, nobody wants to do anything. It's like, do your own radio show. You get to interview all of the people that you want to do. You know, like we should all be doing this sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm rambling here. Ed, what do you got in the works right now? Are you working on any you got any interesting episodes, any news or any updates on stuff?
Well, I'll tell you this. In my professional work, I have been hired on the biggest case of my life. And I cannot talk about it, but soon we'll be able to talk about this. And the biggest thing I've ever worked on in my life, and there's a chance that we could really, really get something good going here with this. And it's something that's going to be in the history books, and I can write a book about it and do a movie about it when it's all over and done with. Right now, I've got so many non-disclosures and in no case I've worked on ever in my life have I had to so many, even with witnesses and stuff, that you have to sign these non-disclosures. So, but it's something huge, man. Guys, so pray for me out there. If you like to pray for me, thank you. And keep us safe, because it's serious business with that going on. Which I think is another reason why I got so many attacks going on all over the place too, which is just par for the course. With the show, like I said, I think it's time to I need more stations. I want to start getting on AM/FM. So you can support that by going to the members section, becoming a member at oppermanreport.com. And because the more stations you're on, and the more listeners you got, and the more sponsors you got, you can get better guests. You have more weight, you have more gravity. You can move your weight around a little bit more. There's people that turn me down because they say, well, it's not the right forum to discuss. Like I got this guy I've been trying to get for a couple of years, who wrote a book and did a documentary about the Russian 9/11, the apartment.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It just happened. The anniversary was early September.
No one knows about it here. It happened in September, just like ours. No one knows about it here. That's how Putin got into power, because he said some Chechenians had bombed these apartment buildings. Then they caught him red-handed, that the KGB had wired up this other building for a bomb, and they caught them all red-handed. And that's how Putin got elected. And when we had our 9/11 here, the first person to call Bush was Vladimir Putin. Called up Bush and says, "I know exactly how you feel."
Yeah, no, I meant to mention that I did, when I did my 9/11 episode, I was going to kind of get into the Moscow apartment bombings, because it's very, and it's funny, that's like totally people, let's say, inside job, and all of the taboo phrases that you're not allowed to say with 9/11, everyone will say with the Moscow apartment bombings,
if they know about it.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like on Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, on the Power Vertical, which is sort of their big podcast, which obviously they're all CIA money at RFERL, but they're inside job, conspiracy theory, and or they're like, well, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact, and again, because it's the dirty Russians that did it. But it's I mean that whole case is also just really fascinating too, and how it fits into what was going on leading up to 9/11. A lot of, because I think that was definitely, obviously that was the Russian government doing this in order to sort of go all rogue in Chechnya. Yeah. But of course the CIA was funding a lot of these Chechen terrorists. So it's just sort of again, there's sort of like overlapping, and that's another one of those things, like to go all the way back. We were talking about Assange as an agent and Putin and stuff. It's like Putin's not going to save the world. He's not going to defeat the New World Order. He definitely knows a lot about what 9/11 and all that, but because he was involved in a lot of this similar stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Putin is no savior for anybody, and people, but they just love the macho, which is why Trump is falling right into that,
No, I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, I saw this people falling in love with Putin, taking his shirt off, wrestling bears, what he was doing over there, karate, Plus, I don't even think that's the same Putin anymore either, If you ever Google those images of all the different Putins, my God, there's no way this can be the same guy over the last 40 years, the same Putin.
And he's aged too.
Yeah.
And he definitely wears makeup and all of that. No, I know, that's just like one of those sort of odd. It's like we have to be so contrarian in this movement, so that means we have to love Putin.
Yeah, right. And say to me, well, if you're a socialist, you should love Putin. And Putin's an oligarch.
Oh yeah.
It's KGB. I'm against that.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, but that's a funny thing is, you get a lot of the sort of like leftist people in the Almina. They all love Putin, and I think it's like this sort of weird like the throwback, like they want it to be like this, so as if the Soviets were like great, like
Right.
as if that was like the I don't know, the pinnacle of that the
Well, the hope of the 1918 of the Russian Revolution, the hope, it was a great hope, but it kind of didn't work out too well.
Right? Yeah, no, exactly. It was a bunch of psychotic, people in power. It's just like I always struggle with that. Especially like when I do like the Porkins Great Game, which I'll just mention now is coming back. We just my good friend Christoph just hasn't been able to record the past couple of months. But yeah, I mean, we always get accused of being, we're either Russian agents or we're, NATO. It's like if we're not, tough enough on them or if God forbid we ever like point out ridiculous things or it's like the things like the Moscow apartment bombings. It's like nobody in the alt media wants to talk about that.
Oh, never.
Because, no. Putin would never use false flag terrorism and an inside job and all this stuff to justify a war in Chechnya, where they, basically leveled an entire city, Grozny. It's all been rebuilt. It was just literally just rubble after, the FSB and the precursor, what the KGB became, after they got done with it. But no, yeah, it's I mean, that's like the two with the Putin and Trump stuff. I don't even get why the mainstream media just doesn't call it like it. I mean, Putin is he's having a laugh.
Yeah.
I think it's totally bogus. I think if anything, Putin would love Trump to get into power because it would just it would be easier for him, maybe. I don't know.
Well, there must be so much blackmail dirt on Trump too, And another thing too is, in the alt media, 99% of the quotes that are attributed to Putin are all made up. He's not saying any of that stuff, But they just buy it hook, line, and sinker, man. And I think a lot of it too is they kiss ass because they want to be on RT. They want to get on RT. Which is my God. You hear these people talking, and they say, well, my family thinks I'm crazy, my neighbors people at work think I'm crazy, but you can go on RT. They think you're normal in Russia. You gotta go for someone not to think you're crazy. And I think you're crazy. Right? So, keep going there. I've had it with you. Too much garbage in this form, But what are you gonna do?
Well, that's always like maybe the elephant in the room that people don't want to talk about. We're obviously the CIA and other intelligent, American intelligence agencies, they are infiltrating in the media. I mean, that's just, you can look at, you go back to like the UFO movement in the, late 40s and 50s, and you've got like groups like NICAP. And it was completely taken over by the CIA. You had the first, I think, Hillenkoper, who was the first director of the CIA, became the, took over the chairmanship at NICAP and basically, made sure that they never really investigated anything seriously. But, I think the elephant in the room that nobody really wants to get into is like, how much are the Russians infiltrating the alternative movement? Because, clearly now, no one I know cares about RT anymore. They were on, again, their star was fading for a while, in my opinion. And now, because, now they won't even talk about, like, 9/11 or things like that. Now it's just sort of all Putin all the time. Russia is, it's basically now, it's just there to run kind of, interference for Ukraine and Syria. It's just there to sort of prop up whatever Russia is doing around the world, which I guess is probably what it was always there for. But at one point it was, it did do good stuff. It did have interesting people on there. But that's like an elephant in the room is, how much are the Russians sort of using the alternative movement to kind of further their own agendas and goals? And it's like, is that okay? I don't know if the alt media is really, I don't know. I don't know if they realize it or if they care. It's like, well, you get to be on RT. I mean, like I'm not denying it'd be cool if I was on RT. I mean, it definitely, it'd be a boost to your numbers, but it's like an odd thing. I don't know. It's like one of those sort of again, the elephant in the room. Are they poking and prodding us and sort of pushing us in a certain direction? Because now again, it's like what's on. It's like RT and even more so like press TV. I mean, it's just become sort of like a bastion for neo-Nazis to just kind of go and spew all sorts of garbage and nonsense and hate. And it's sort of like they wouldn't, it's like the David Dukes and things wouldn't exist if Press TV didn't keep having them on. Or they wouldn't have the sort of influence that they have within the alternative media. It's like, it's all the same people. It's like all the same people that keep coming back on RT. And it's just sort of like they're just sort of keeping them alive. They're just sort of milking them for everything that they've got, and they're kind of keeping them in the movement for whatever reason. And I don't know. I mean, I'm babbling on here, Ed. You have any thoughts on RT and the Russians?
Well, yeah, I know that when you go down to their satellite studios here in the States, that you get $100 per day per diem. So people, some of these people, it's their only income,
Right? Yeah.
But they got guys on there that, are complete lunatics who think the earth is hollow and all kind of, and they have them on there like they're experts, like they're real, when they know for a fact they're fakes, because everyone knows they're fakes. But I'll tell you an interesting thing that I could testify from my own personal experience in life is when I got involved with that whole thing with Sarah Palin and the girl in Alaska, I was expecting opposition from that. When I went, I was afraid to get into that. And I don't know if I ever told you this, because no one else was helping her. And I was afraid. My daughter was young at the time too. And I prayed with a lot of people. I called up, only a few people knew. And my friend, who's a reverend up in Maine, I called him up and we talked on the phone about it. We prayed about it. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I expected like Democrats and Republicans to come after me, like those kind of goons, and I never realized foreign intelligence agencies from foreign countries, Israel, China, and Israel, China, and I think another one was Russia too, who infiltrated my life, and people who's were bred practically from childhood to be these kind of agents of foreign governments. Like when you hear about their whole life, like, they were an orphan in Serbia and, a child prostitute in the street. Then they came here and they got a scholarship to go here. Then they went to Betty Ford there. And, like their whole life was programmed. So you got to look around. When you're looking around for who's infiltrating you and who's spying on you and who's manipulating you, it's not just U.S. government, it's foreign governments too. And then also then you got these rich, powerful people here in this country who have their own armies of cops and stuff like that. I think I told the story a few times about I might as well just talk about it, but the Fisher family who... Yeah, you've heard of them, right?
Sure.
They own the Intrepid Museum and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, they used to hire Keith Schiller, who's Trump's head of security. They used to hire him to produce all these cops for them, hundreds of cops to show up at funerals and stuff and all bizarre stuff. And they donate money to people, victims of 9/11, and they donate money here to have like control. They have their own army, their own secret police, and their own intelligence networks, these people. And they'll infiltrate you too. So it's a whole cesspool of all different kinds of people coming into your life. And the yippies, too. I talked about how, too, the Russians were infiltrating them. And a guy admitted it. He said he was getting paid by the Russian embassy for, I get a stipend from the Russian embassy for my art, for my poetry, he says. And the guy confessed to it right in front of me. So, it's
Well, we're doing it to them. I don't know why they think that they wouldn't do it back to us.
Oh, no, yeah, no. This country is full of, and I think we're an easy country to get into and move around freely and get things, and money flows freely here too, and little jobs and stuff,
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to kind of hide here. Like when you look at the sort of infiltration things, like say in Russia, they're fairly formalized. It's like, well, everybody knows that the, Carnegie Foundation think tank is really just a front. Everybody knows who runs RFERL. When they have their reporters out there and stuff. But here, I think it's a lot easier to kind of, move in these circles and, kind of like fly under the radar, for instance. It's not that hard. And I think it's like it's sort of like a scary thought. And, you do like, you wonder with things like the flat earthers. It's like, is that like some foreign government sort of pushing that, to kind of, I don't know, control the movement? Because it was like all of a sudden everybody had to be a flat earther, Yeah,
that's no accident. That didn't happen by accident. And there's a lot of funding behind that, and search engine optimization, all that kind of stuff. It's all, things don't go viral like that just by accident. But you got to think, man. Like if you and me are looking at this stuff and we kind of see it and we're waiting for it to come at us, and I've had it come at me in the past. I know what it felt. And since I was 17 years old, I've been around this kind of stuff. Imagine some of these hosts and stuff and these radio station owners that don't have a clue. They think, the stars and the vibrational frequencies are going to take care of everything. You know what I mean, man? Just imagine how this person's so nice to me. You should see how they helped me get a job and they helped me get an apartment. Gee whiz, isn't everybody so nice? Yeah, come on, man. And because people, it's such a responsibility to be in front of the mic. People just don't understand this. And they think they can just blabble on and make things up and like nothing. There's no consequences for it.
Yeah, no, I know it's like shocking.
I know,
and I guess I know all those people that are always complaining about how I don't have positive guests or answers. They're probably going to be kind of feeling the same way with this. But I don't know. Let's change gears. This is sort of like completely off topic and unrelated. But it just popped in my head because I always like want to ask you about some of your crazy New York stories. But I found myself the other day. I was just sort of like flipping around looking for something to watch, and Wolf of Wall Street was on, and it was a scene with Bo Deitl, and I forgot that Bo Deitl. Basically like plays himself in the movie. And then I was just sort of, somehow I was like talking about Bo Deitl with someone. Somehow the movie Bad Lieutenant came up, which is sort of like loosely based on Bo Deitl, who did investigate the rape of a young nun. And I guess that's sort of like what made his career, right?
Yeah, one of the things. The case with they cut 27 crosses into this nun. Yeah. And he flipped out over that, yeah. Yeah,
right. And I mean, of course, and I don't think Bo Deitl like smoked crack and did all the other things that happened in Bad Lieutenant. But I don't know. And then I was just like, somehow I was talking about that, and I was like, oh yeah, Ed knows Bo from like back in the day. And have you spoken to him at all recently?
No, I have not spoken to Bo, and boy, the last time I spoke to Bo. I needed a favor, and he said, "Okay, send me a $25 retainer, and I'll help you out." And that was the last time we talked.
Okay,
so that's been a while,
Okay, because I was going to say, I mean, he must be a Trump supporter, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. I told you. I'm pretty sure he ratted me out to Trump.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Right. Okay.
It's a joke about Marla Maples.
And I guess it's just like. Explain this a little bit, just because I don't think people like really quite know who Bo Deitl is, like and just to sort of like, I mean, I remember growing up and listening to Bo Deitl all the time because he was always on Imus,
right?
And I unfortunately when I was in middle school, I was a big fan of Imus in the morning, and Imus. Wow, did you ever know Don Imus?
No.
Okay. But I mean, just explain like what does Bo Deitl do, you think? I mean, because he's like, and the power that like a private investigator can have. Because I mean, this guy is everywhere.
He's a billionaire. I'm sure he's a billionaire. He's a multimillionaire right now. But and he gambles like a lunatic. So he gambles, like $100,000. But the thing is, Bo was the most decorated cop in New York City, I think, history. At the time he retired, he was the most decorated cop in history. Won the most awards, and he worked on a lot of big cases. Off duty, he would do bodyguard work for Saudi billionaires and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, and that's how he got off the cops, because he parachuted with one of these Saudi princes out of a plane, and he landed the wrong way, and he hurt his back, or he hurt his foot or something, hurt his toe, he hurt his feelings. I don't know what it was, but he got a pension, okay? Then he ran for Senate in New York because he was the most decorated cop. He had a PI business. Now, he started getting these great contracts. He hooked up with Raoul Felder, I think was one of the first lawyers. My God, I can't believe I'm talking about him like this. But I
don't want to get you in trouble, Ed.
I know. Well, it's because he's like, see, you hear about these people, they're whistleblowers and stuff like that, and they come on with no fear. They're not worried. Bo will come knock on my door and kick the crap.
I know. Yeah, no, he definitely seems like the kind of guy, he's not into that.
It's a story about punching, I think it was 6 guys. He knocked out 6 guys like with one consecutive punch, like pum, 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 pum.
Okay, he's a big guy.
Oh, no, he's tough. Well, he's short, but he's very muscular.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to pick a fight with him.
No, definitely not. I don't think he'd fight me, though. But the thing is, so he got with these big lawyers, and then he started getting these contracts like for Oprah Winfrey at the soap opera awards, and then he got the contract for because he had a little office. I remember when he had his little office in Queens, or Long Island it was, I forget. He started getting these big giant contracts. Then he got a $500,000 contract a year to guard Mike Tyson. And then he really started taking off, and then more into politics and favors and stuff like that. But this guy was hung politically, man, even back when he was at that little office, because he would just pick up the phone, get Molinari on the phone, get this guy on the phone. And then he was Reagan's campaign finance chairman for Long Island.
Really? That I didn't know.
Oh, no, this guy's politically hung, dude. This guy is, powerful guy in politics. Knew the Reagans, knew the Bushes. Like Bush's daughter would come to town. He'd take him to Rayo's for dinner and stuff,
Really?
Never shy about talking about it. But the Bo, the Bo I loved, man. We used to hang out at the Doral Inn, which was his hotel across the street from the Waldorf. And what are you doing here, Bo? I'm doing a bodyguard job across the street.
He used to just come and have a drink.
Yeah, or a drink.
Yeah, right.
We would drink all night, man, and then drive home.
Yeah.
And he would also too. He'd like arm wrestle everybody in a bar. Fun guy. But people used to think we were brothers because we looked alike. I had a beard too, and he had a beard, and we're both wearing suits all the time. So people thought we were brothers. They would come in and start talking to me about his, I hired Bo. Is he coming later? Well, tell me about your case.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Try and steal his clients and stuff. Listen, it was great times, man. We had a lot of fun, a bunch of characters. I have no complaints, and I would be, I would love to see him again, and talk to him again. Even remember me? I don't know. I assume these people don't remember me, but then when I talk to them, they seem to. Like AJ Weber, man, I never thought he would remember me.
Oh yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna forget you, Ed.
You'd be surprised. I'm pretty quiet sometimes.
No,
I try and blend into the woodwork, and I did, dude. Before all the Tiger Woods stuff is pretty much what broke me out of my silence. Other than that, no one ever heard of me. I was very quiet before that, Yeah.
What was your Tiger Woods? I know you always talk about it, and I actually don't know.
Oh, I did all the phones. I'm the one that you know how they had 15 mistresses? That was my case. I'm the guy who came up with the number 15.
Oh, wow.
Because all these women were coming forward saying, "Oh yeah, I slept with Tiger Woods too." And the agent, they were coming to this agent who was booking them and getting them jobs and getting them bookings to go on TV and stuff like that. And she came to me because she was my agent too, and she said, "Hey, how do we prove that they're really all these women are coming here? How do we prove who's who?" So I came up with a plan with phone records and cell phone forensics and, to prove who was with Tiger and who wasn't. And we just, at 15, I got fed up and I said, that's it. It's 15. We could still be doing it till today. We can still be counting Tiger Woods businesses.
Really? Is that many?
Oh my God! Yeah, it was a full-time job. It was, who knows? And then one of them, I admit that one slipped by me that I was convinced was with Tiger, and it turns out probably never was. Yeah, but they turned out to be a bunch of characters too. They're the ones who did that video where they claimed that they had a sex tape of them with Tiger.
Oh yeah, sure.
Turned out to be all hoax.
Right. Yeah.
What's
it? I guess now that we're just sort of tripped down memory lane and your PI stuff. What's like the craziest case you ever worked? I know you said that you worked on some mafia cases.
Oh yeah.
But what's like the kind of the for you the craziest case?
Oh boy. I don't know. I don't know. I guess those kind of Tiger Woods kind of thing. Oh, you know what was one of the craziest ones is they told me that this woman was impregnated by a pop star, and they called me up like 5 o'clock in the morning and they said, you got to go pick her up, and she's staying at this budget suites, and you got to go grab her and just get a hold of her quick. Just get her in your car and don't let her out of your sight. And then we have to find a polygraph for her. And so then I had to find a polygraph guy who would do a polygraph with her. But then he was too expensive. They made me go find a
cheaper one.
No, that's too much. You got to write a better one. What? But I got the girl in my trunk. What do you think?
Right. Yeah.
Forever, And she took the polygraph. She passed finally, and then suddenly everything got quiet, and some kind of money changed hands, and who knows what.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's all gone. But and a lot of stories like that where things. Oh, this is going to be a big story by the end of the night. And then by the end of the night, it's all hushed up and quiet. And it's interesting. I talked to that guy. I think his name is Rich Rothmiller, the LAPD detective. I just did an interview with him. And it all makes a lot of sense now when he explained to me. He's an LAPD detective. And by the way, he has the goods on Daryl Gates, that Daryl Gates is CIA. Oh, yeah. And he's going to come out with a book on Marilyn Monroe. This guy does really good work.
Oh, cool.
And what he said to me was, he goes, you know what happened? See, because I knew all along that it was this really bizarre situation, how you could be working on a story about a celebrity and suddenly it all just stops. Like someone flips a switch someplace, and it's no one in the media is going to publish this anymore. It's dead. It's gone. It's over. And how does that happen? I never understood that there's Mike Rothmiller, the guy's name is, Secrets, Lies, and Deceptions, his latest book. And how does that happen? Who has that kind of power? And he says, well, what happens is in the LAPD is when you pick somebody up for a vice case, they don't arrest them, and they pull them in, and they say, listen, you got a friend in the LAPD from now on. And that guy, but they have some blackmail dirt over the guy. So basically it's guys like Daryl Gates, who have that kind of power to silence a major story like that.
Well, that just reminds me, Nicole Brown and Martin Furman was her cop on the force, and how that entire case was, they were able to control from the top down everything. And I mean, the LAPD is like the most. It's got to be the most corrupt, more corrupt than here. But it's like if you really want to kill somebody, especially if you want to kill someone famous and get away with it, you got to go to LA because it's just it's like you said, Marilyn Monroe and RFK later, obviously the Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. But anyway, Ed, we're coming up on the very end. Thank you so much for joining me. I know I was a little bit all over the place, but it's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
No, a lot of fun always, man. Thank you so much, Pierce.
All right, great. And I will be coming back to you guys next week.
News and information you can trust. This is American Freedom Radio. Freedom, American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Nutritious food is real body armor. It builds muscle, burns fat, improves digestion, and feeds the entire body the nutrients it needs. Did you know the U.S. government banned the hemp plant from growing in the United States and classified it as a Schedule I drug to hide it behind the marijuana plant? People have been confused about this plant for over 80 years, and many still don't know what hemp is. So now you know hemp is not marijuana, and marijuana is not hemp. They are different varieties of the same species. HempUSA.org wants the world to know these basic facts and to help people understand that hemp protein powder is the best kept health secret you need to know about. Remember, hemp protein powder contains 53% protein, is gluten-free, anti-inflammatory, non-GMO, and is loaded with nutrients. Call 888-910-4367, 888-910-4367, and see what our powder, seeds, and oil can do for you. Only at HempUSA.org.
People are dumb. You can say what you want about this country, and I love this place. I love the freedoms we used to have. I love it. I love that, you know. I love it when it didn't take catastrophe to get us to care for one another. I love the fact that we're on camera all the time from all angles. But you know what? You can say what you want about America. And I say I love this place. I wouldn't have it any other way. Wouldn't live in any other time in history and any other place. But say what you want about America. Land of the free, home of the brave. We got some dumbass people floating around this country. Yeah. And this ain't just ranting and raving. This ain't just blowing off steam. I got a little evidence to support my claim. It just seems to me that only a really low IQ population could have taken this beautiful continent, this magnificent American landscape that we inherited. Well, actually, we stole it from the Mexicans and the Indians, but hey, it was nice when we stole it. It looked pretty good. It was pristine. Paradise. Have you seen it lately? Have you taken a good look at it lately? It's embarrassing. Only a nation of unenlightened half-wits could have taken this beautiful place and turned it into what it is today, a shopping mall. A big shopping mall. You know that? That's all you got. That's all you've got here, folks. Mile after mile of mall after mall. Many, many malls. Major malls and mini malls. They put the mini malls in between the major malls. And in between the mini malls, they put the mini marts. And in between the mini marts, you got the car lots, gas stations, muffler shops, laundromats, cheap hotels, fast food joints, strip clubs, and dirty bookstores. America the Beautiful. One big transcontinental commercial cesspool. And how do the people feel about all this? How do the people feel about living in a coast-to-coast shopping mall? Well, they think it's just dandy.
You're listening to AmericanFreedomRadio.com, the network who perseveres in delivering intelligent debate, constructive dialogue with true independence. The freedom to broadcast the truth is not free at all. So what is American Freedom Radio worth to you? The empowering information with fun, honest and pure integrity behind it provides an example to follow. Friendships to flourish with the moral altruism that pulls no punches. The hosts sacrifice and show remarkable discipline in their duty to deliver quality radio in service to the community with strength, wisdom and loyalty. The founders of AFR wish to thank you personally for sharing your views and insights to make the best radio and alternative media. Now it's time for you to give something back and play a vital role in the future of America. Be as generous with us as we've been with you. Click on the donate banner at AmericanFreedomRadio.com or volunteer by emailing AmericanFreedomRadio@ymail.com. Vaccine, psychotropic drugs and artillery batteries not included.
No rules, no rules, no taboo topics, no taboo topics, no fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio, American Freedom Radio.